So where we left off was we had done the first extreme of this Preston Blair dog character pointing and figured out the correct fielding. So then I did this anticipation drawing, and instead of just popping from that to that, we need to have an animation chart to show what the spacing is between this drawing and this drawing. And my way of doing something like this is you put a line here and two lines here, and up here you write the first drawing, which is here at the top. D5 is our drawing here that we're dealing with, and you could put it here just to remind yourself, because having it 3 times you won't forget. Now halfway between would be here. 1/4 between would be there. My idea is that D3 should be close to D1, so it's not so jarring as it goes to D5. So then you write here D3, or you could just write 3. And then you get a clean sheet of paper. Put that on top like that. Number here 3. And turn on the bottom light, turn out the top light. And the other top light. And now you can see through your pages to start doing your rough in between. So our chart says to make it close to D1. So I would start with the arc of his nose. You can't do an exact in between here because that's just moving it straight up. You have to do an arc. And you would measure, there's the top of the nose there and the top of the nose there. This is halfway. We want 1/4 way, which is here. So the outside of his nose has to curve up like that. And this is the 1/4 position here. Now this becomes one of your anchor points. And then you can rough in the rest of his move. So then his eyes follow this way, and here, and his head. Now you can rough in where his head should be. You lift up the page so you can see a little better. But everything has to be just 1/4 of the distance. So the bottom drawing, his elbow is here. So we want to have his hand just a little bit that, and then rough in a circle for the hand, make it simple. And then come back over here and let's start with his arm. His shoulder is going to go up, but we want to have his arm close to position 1. So that's about 1/4 the distance, is doing it like that. And then his mouth, approximate placement of the mouth. Kind of like that. And his tongue. Bottom of his jaw. And then his ears, which are here, but his ear has to sync. So I would go, as Dave would say, I would go out of in between. Dave Brain told me that. Sometimes you go out of in between. His ear has to sink down like this. And the other ear is going to sink down because it's being, you might think of it as being left behind. Then you can take your pencil and do a quick tie down. And make these nice smooth curves. Now I'm doing a rough tie down, so it's not, this is not going to be what would be sent to final, because I'm keeping it rough just so that we can see it here on camera. And when you're doing that, you don't have to be so exacting. So his fingers are going to come down, but it's still, that's an arc there. So that finger length has to be that same length. This finger is going to start to come up, but not quite. And this one's going to start to go down. There's an arc there. Like I said, this is a rough drawing, so you don't have to be quite so exacting. And there you have drawing D3. And that fulfills the spacing chart that we had from D1 to D5. So take off 3, take off 5. Now put back 3 and 5 in the correct order, and then flip your drawings to check the motion. Make sure the motion is right. It goes here, here, to here. This is kind of slowing out of his pose to get to the next pose. Nose goes up, ears go down. And all that's missing really is the collar. And let's add that now. So the collar has to be close to the collar on the bottom. Now, let's do one more in between. So take your D1 and D3, keep them like that order. Put it aside. Put D5 down, and then get D9, which is a very rough looking drawing. So the chart for D9, you put D5 here and split this up to 3 marks in between. One is halfway, these are both 1/4 way, and we're going from that to that. So I would say there's a choice you can make. You can have it pop to that really fast, which would mean that D7 would be here. You can slow into it, which would mean D7 is here. Or you could have it evenly spaced, which means D7 is right in between. Some of that comes from your personal taste as to how you want the character to move, because he's also moving his head down. So on this one, let's try D7 in the middle. And fish out another clean sheet of paper. And there's that drawing and that drawing. Everything's going to be right in between. Label your drawing so you know which one you're working on. I don't know if you guys can see through these okay, or if I should turn out the top light. I'll turn out the top light. And you can see it better. So it's going to be very in between. So make an arc here at the top of his head and put this right in here. Make an arc here for his nose to swing around, and his head's going down, so everything has to swing as his head comes down. And I'm trying to make sure everything follows an arc. As he looks down. And everything is just in between, so to speak, halfway, but still with a nice little arc. Like that, and then the ears follow. So the ears are connected up here. So kind of like that. And then lastly, I would start to put in the body. Kind of like that. And his hand has to go up. So we need a nice arc for his hand to go up and his finger goes up. So let's draw the finger first and then figure out where the hand is going to go, the palm of the hand. And then here's his thumb on its way out. There's the bottom of the palm. And his fingers, the other two fingers, they need to follow because they're going to fold. And then you can draw the arm by just following this way and this way. And then this arm, I would say just do a straight line like that. And you can darken in your rough drawing lines as you go. And there. And then take your drawings up, put 7 down on top of 5, put 9 on top of that. Turn out your bottom light, turn on your top light. And let's check the drawings. So he's going to put his head down and his hand up. So there's that pose, and that pose. And then 13 was basically the settle, where he settles down and his ears come down like that. And you can either leave that as it is, or you can put one more in between there, which would be, there's halfway, quarter, quarter. You could make D11 here to slow into this. It would give it a nice move where he hardly moved anything except his hand and his ears coming down. As you go through, you can make little changes. So try that. Try doing your own animation and that was a quick lesson on animating and spacing. So try it for yourself, keep drawing and keep animating. We'll see you next time.